The Horus Heresy is a cornerstone event in the far future fictional universe created by Games Workshop as the campaign setting for its Warhammer 40,000 miniatures wargame. It is a relatively short but devastating galaxy-spanning civil war that engulfs the nascent galactic empire of the Imperium of Man early in the 31st millennium of the universe timeline. The war is a major cause of the science fantasy universe's dystopian environment, initially described in wargame supplements published in 1988, and used as the setting for a 1989 Epic-branded tabletop miniatures wargame. It has been utilized since as background for several of Game Workshop's products. The Horus Heresy has expanded in scope and standing beyond its original wargame background role. Since the concept's introduction, there has been an increasing number of related releases in several product categories and media. It is an ongoing project that has developed into a major, definitive component of the shared universe, and it has come into its own as a successful brand and product line for Games Workshop and its affiliates. In 2012, it was repositioned as a foreground element in the Warhammer 40,000 gaming system, thanks to the introduction of the standalone Horus Heresy miniatures wargame expansion. Fictional setting in the developing Warhammer 40,000 backstory. By the 30th millennium, the Emperor of Mankind, founder and head of state of the newly constituted Imperium of Man, had become a major proponent of order in the Milky Way galaxy, and one of the most formidable enemies of chaos, its forces, and the various hostile aliens that inhabit the galaxy. In the past, mankind had colonized the stars and had reached an intellectual and technological golden age. However, after being exhausted by large-scale rebellion by artificial intelligences, and when warp storms cut off interstellar travel, humanity's previous civilization collapsed and left its colonies vulnerable to attacks by demons and aliens during a millennia-long era known as the Age of Strife. After consolidating his rule on Terra and genetically engineering legions of superhuman warriors, he embarked, in late M30, on a great crusade. Once the warp storms receded, the objective was to reunite the millions of human space colonies scattered throughout the galaxy under the Imperium's banner. The Imperium proclaimed an imperial truth of science and reason, and against religion and superstition, by extension, weakening the influence of chaos on the human race and its evolution. Promoting the notions of order and truth from a strictly human perspective is put forth by the Emperor. The Imperium had declared the Milky Way the exclusive, rightful domain of humankind. It maintained that ruling the galaxy is the species' manifest destiny. While the Emperor was the supreme commander of the Crusades' many expeditions, the Space Marine legions and the rest of the Imperial military forces were eventually led by his genetically engineered progeny, a group of 20 primarchs who were in every aspect even mightier than Space Marines, as well as the progenitors. Outline. Causes. In early M31, 2 standard centuries into the Great Crusade, in the final phases of the Crusade, the Emperor promotes Horus Lupercal, his most trusted and versatile primarch, to War Master and overall leader of the Crusade. The Emperor then leaves the Crusade and returns to Terra, where he remains in relative isolation. He relegates administration of the Imperium to a civilian authority, the Council of Terra, and in an undertaking kept secret even from Horus, oversees efforts to gain access to the webway. These actions test Horus's personal and mission-related resources, and exacerbate existing tensions among some of the primarchs, especially those who feel slighted blinded by other decisions of the Emperor, have grievances against the brothers. Soon after his promotion, Horus becomes the target of a conspiracy planned by the gods of chaos and executed by their allies and minions. It involves his near-fatal injury by an alien weapon called anathema and supposed healing by the Serpent Lodge of the Moon of Divina. Both events are designed to make Horus susceptible to the influence of chaos and lead to his eventual corruption. While the exact cause has been retconned repeatedly, the current state is that during a ceremony designed to heal Horus of a mortal wound, he is shown a vision of the far future, in which the Emperor is worshipped as a god, and Horus and the other primarchs are forgotten. As the Emperor's primary edict is to stamp out religion of all forms, Horus sees this as the ultimate betrayal. Though another primarch, his brother Magnus, tries to reach Horus by psychic projection and warn him of the treachery during his trance-like state, the corruption spreads and prevents Horus from accepting his brother's guidance. He then turns against the Emperor, becoming the traitor from the perspective of the Imperium. He plans a coup d'etat on a galactic scale, and ultimately leads 8 other primarchs, as well as the legions and other forces, in war against the Emperor and all who stand with him. The betrayal and campaign are eventually labeled the Horus Heresy. Most of those who turn against the Emperor become, or already are, corrupted by chaos, conflict and resolution. Horus, outwardly still loyal, engages in subterfuge and secretly contravenes imperial orders. He also issues orders designed to weaken and disperse forces deemed loyalist, while simultaneously building covert alliances. Then, in the first open move of the heresy, he succeeds in culling from the ranks of the rebels those persons and units still loyal to the Emperor. During the opening stages of the campaign, the loyalist side is shown to be beset by inadequate communication security and poor intelligence. Its leaders stunned or in denial when faced with the enormity of events. A subsequent operation, expertly directed by Horus and co-conspirators, involves the massacre of 3 loyalist legions that are sent by the imperial authorities to crush the rebellion. Horus, continuing to assume the initiative following tactical and strategic successes, orders the bulk of rebel forces to the Sol system and the heart of the Imperium. After a brutal in-system space battle, they manage to make planetfall on Terra and to lay siege to the Imperial Palace, seat of the Emperor. While the siege is a strategic stalemate, Horus is aware that massive loyalist reinforcements are on the way. Lowering the shields of his flagship as a lure, the Emperor, Rogaldorn, Sanguinius, and a force of Imperial fists teleport aboard the flagship to confront him. Horus initially kills Sanguinius, and then is finally killed in single combat with his father, while the Emperor is grievously wounded in the same action. The death of Horus leads to disarray among the invading traitors, whose campaign is by this time also threatened by the imminent loyalist reinforcements, and they hastily retreat. The battle for Terra and the whole Horus Heresy campaign is effectively over. Aftermath. Horus's campaign lasts less than a standard decade, yet it is devastating in its scale, and the loyalist victory comes at great cost. The losses in talent, knowledge, manpower, and territory result in a prolonged period of cultural, political, and technological stagnation and regression for the Imperium. The barely alive Emperor is interred at the end of the battle for Terra in a complex life support device, a technological marvel known as the Golden Throne. The throne also powers the Astronomicon, the navigation aid responsible for holding the Imperium together, as well as keeping the destroyed webway entrance sealed, lest demons overrun the Earth. Entombed in the device, his decaying physical form is kept alive in a moribund state, and he is said to be able to express himself only psychically. A long and often violent period of cleansing the Imperium from traitors, and rebuilding its institutions, takes place following the end of the heresy that is known as the Great Scouring. The majority of surviving traitor forces flee to a chaos anomaly in real space known as the Eye of Terror. There they create their own empires and continue to harry the Imperium. Relevance: the Horus Heresy is a significant component of the Warhammer 40,000 canon, and since 2012 has been repositioned as a distinct foreground gaming element. Over the years, the concept evolved into the major reason behind the dystopian environment of the shared universe. In the current backstory of the universe's approximate real-time setting, 10 millennia after the end of the heresy, the event is presented as shrouded in myth and distorted by disinformation. The future history detailed in Horus Heresy branded material is depicted as lost, forgotten, or censored, yet situations caused by or related to the heresy form the basis for much of the present context.